And these river boards will be, the chairman and the member secretaries will be appointed by the Government of India, and water will not be allowed to become a source of conflict. So water and education are two main, the tax incentives along the lines of the and Himachal package to the backward areas of both Telangana and state has been introduced, as I said, most notably and most recently in Uttarakhand and Himachal. We have also made provision for creating a new port, a large number of such projects as far as infrastructure is concerned. I think both natural as well as human resources. And I think institutions like that, in ensuring the synergy that exists between the two states and in unit in the planning committee will take this forward. I can't do where I will be 3 months from now, but I can tell you that the Union Planning Commission will be there, and that is a ongoing entity. They will be working on issues of Seemandhra. They'll be working with institutes. Then will be considered by the government, both the centre as well as in the state. So I will stop here, and if
for all the promises you have made, including the capital and the IIT, IIM and the central universities, because all the political leaders were located in Hyderabad. So we have the impression that this Seemandhra state will not develop if for 10 years. We will be delaying our progress by the next 10 years if we continue to be in Hyderabad. So if some provision would have been made for creating a capital, or funds would have been given for the next 2 years, or 50% of them would have been committed, and then you would have notified the state, would have been more practical, and we would have been more better. That is our request. And this special category status for 5 years, once the new government is in place, with the way it works, it will take at least year and a half for them to prepare the DPRs, detailed project reports for getting funding. So if you could extend that by 7 or 8 years.
In India created, I think you are underestimating. I can assure you, the Act says on capital for 10 years. I can assure you, knowing Andhra, the new capital of Andhra Pradesh will be ready for years. I'm 100% sure. The next 3 to 4 months, the location of it would be identified, and India is committed to funding the infrastructure in the legislature, the Raj Bhavan, the Secretary, the High Court. All this is committed. But please understand how laws are written in India. In the world, right? India, nowhere in the world, law provide financial commitments. You don't say that we are going to provide 500 crores, because if you want to provide 510 crores, you have to go back and amend the law. That's not the way decision is made. What the law does is commitments which are backed by Parliament. Those commitments have to be converted into investments by the government of the day. And as I have mentioned, language in the legislation is a firm commitment on the part of the It's a firm commitment. Government shall do. And I think the next step is for these to fructify. And I'm sure that, as I said, given the competitive pressures, no government would be in a position to go on the commitments that have been made.
Sir, my request.
Different views. Government is to listen to all views and decision that is in the best interest.
You have touched on a lot of things, but for manufacturing sector, I would like to ask you a few questions. The tax incentives, excise, all are very good.
Commitment. 30 MCMD of gas will be produced on the KG basis. And we are producing 17 MCMD. Government has nothing to do with this. So let's see how it plays out. I agree with you that the availability of gas can be a major stimulus for the growth of industry and for manufacturing and infrastructure. We should have been in the KG basin alone. In the KG basin alone, we should have been today, according to all the estimates that were given 5 years ago, over 80 MCMD, probably at 100 MCMD. Not. I hope that in the next couple of months, with the new pricing formula that has been announced, we would be able to arrive at some amicable solution on reviving the gas. there is gas. But there are technical issues, there are economic issues, resolved, and I'm sure that, going to resolve as soon as you have the new government in place, both in the center as well as in the states.
What I think was not the gas that you were talking about. I'm talking about RNG terminals, that is really to natural gas.
I know. Well, we've got a terminal now in the Dahej, and we have an LNG terminal in Cochin. For a long time, LNG has been talked about on the east coast of India. It's not fructified. We were in discussion with this in Malaysia, and we were in discussion with the Indonesians and the Thai. The east coast LNG has not taken off. The west coast LNG has taken off. Dahej, which is at 10 million tons, and Cochin, which is at 5 million tons. I agree with you that we should examine very closely the LNG terminals in the east coast. That is the logic. Next LNG terminal. That's the next. And the on the west coast. It doesn't make sense to put the third terminal on the west. But combination of LNG and domestic gas will certainly make for gas availability. Now, as far as the tax incentives are concerned, I think it's only a matter of time when the new budget will be presented by whichever the incoming government is. These tax incentives will be made part of the finance bill. The Visakhapatnam Chennai industrial corridor will be a great boost. The Delhi-Mumbai industrial corridor, Japan has committed $4.5 billion, and they're actually putting money on. And something over the next 15, 20 years, a commitment of almost 1 lakh crore in the government of India and the government of Japan for green cities, for green manufacturing and so on. Now, if the Visakhapatnam corridor, which is promised in the Act, which I'm sure it will, there is no reason why we should not see the type of manufacturing growth that you're talking about.
Sir, good evening. Sir, I'm Kumar, representing the IT industry.
The CEO has been fired by Andhra Pradesh. What's going to happen to MNCs? What's going to happen to investors? And, this new man, this new CEO, he's talking the language of farmers. He's talking the language of debt relief. He's talking the language of women's insurance. Doesn't agenda for growth. Let me tell you, in 1 year's time, the new chief outdid his predecessor in his commitment to pragmatism. So, when regime changed, that was the test. I don't think that, in fact, he became aggressive and more proactive in wanting to get foreign companies. Not just foreign companies, but Indian companies. So I have no doubt in my mind that whichever the success government is, in Hyderabad and in this part of Seemandhra, both governments would be practical. They would be pro-business. They would want it. They will be in competition with each other to show that, the new state is benefiting new investments. So I think you should not have cost of money, frankly. This is what my view is. Like a track record. The only thing that I would request you as an investor is to know your years when the election campaigning is going on. Because when election campaigning is going on, a lot of nonsense gets said. Start believing that you will get money. The pudding is not what governments, not what political parties they will do when they are not in power, but the proof of the pudding is what political parties do when they come into power. And I'll give you the most recent example of this. You must be familiar from your accent. This is an old-ish parliamentary dictum, which all parliamentary democracies function, including India. Where you stand depends on where you sit.